Hello friends, it's Laura from CoolMomAndCollected.com, and today's video is sponsored by Real Life. As you can see, we have a bit of a different setup today, and that's because we're incorporating a desk into the room, which could actually work out quite nicely. But today's video is all about a homeschool Q&A. I will link my last homeschool Q&A that I did below, and you can learn all about my homeschool journey, as well as why we started with CMEC and now are at Ambleside, and much, much more. I cannot wait to get to your questions, so please don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I cannot even tell you how much I have been encouraged by your likes and subscribes, so please keep them coming because I really enjoy making this kind of content. So I'm going to get into the first question. First question, how you approach Shakespeare with your kiddos, all the tips. I have 5 children, an 8-year-old and under. And so when it comes to Shakespeare, which I have had a lot of experience with because I did have a major in acting, I have dabbled in Shakespeare before and read a ton, but I really didn't see, like, can my 7-year-old read Shakespeare? Can my 8-year-old read Shakespeare? You know, it just really kind of made me wonder, is it even appropriate? Yes, they can read it. And yes, sometimes it's not appropriate, but that's why you have to know your student and you kind of have to know your family and what is going to be appropriate for your child. So when I did start Ambleside year 2 this past year, we had a bunch of different Shakespeare plays to read on our reading plan. Romeo and Juliet, Cymbeline, I think I'm saying that right, All's Well That Ends Well, Two Gentlemen of Verona. The way that I approach Shakespeare with my children is I read the play first. I need to do this because I know in Shakespeare there could be a lot of sensitive material. There's a lot of love, there's a lot of romance, there's a lot of comedy, there's a lot of death, there's a lot of murder, there's a lot of poison. You really need to make sure that you know what the Shakespeare play you're reading is going to be about before you bring it to your child, because it's just really not fun to be reading about those sorts of topics that are pretty deep and then realizing, yikes, this isn't for my kids. For example, my family, we avoid magic in our literature. That doesn't mean we avoid awe and wonder and beauty and imagination, but in terms of like magic, we avoid that. And so when I was about to read Macbeth to my children, and I forgot that they have that instance with the 3 witches in the beginning, for my family, this was a perfect opportunity for me to say, I'm actually going to put a pause on this right now. I don't need to beat myself up that I'm not comfortable with this, and I don't care if every other person in Ambleside Online is reading Macbeth. It's not right for me right now. So I think sometimes as homeschool moms, especially with Shakespeare, Shakespeare doesn't equal genius. You know, someone might be reading some Shakespeare that you're not necessarily comfortable with your 8-year-old reading. Romeo and Juliet, for instance. I mean, there's a lot of talk of romance. There's also drinking poison and killing for love and all this stuff. And it really depends on your child's maturity level. It depends on what you are comfortable, what topics you're comfortable introducing to your children. I think that Shakespeare does have a lot of great intentional topics to talk about. You really learn about a person's character. Are they faithful? Are they loyal? Are they trustworthy? Are they a liar? So there's a lot of great characters with Shakespeare. That I will say, for me, the way I first approached Shakespeare this year was reading it the way I would honestly read anything with my children, but pausing more often for narrations to make sure that we were on the same page. So maybe you're reading once a week, following up each week with a reminder of, hey, so do you guys remember what happened last week? Talk about it. We maybe talk about the characters, the morals, different things like that. And then I'll present kind of like a captain idea, like, ooh, I wonder what Romeo's going to do. Do you think that he's going to be able to be with Juliet? Or do you think their parents are going to get in the way? Like something that prompts them, that excites them, that gets ready for the future reading. Simply Charlotte Mason gave me a bunch of great ideas in one of her videos. And she states that the way to do Shakespeare is, 1, to read the play almost in a narrative story form. This past year, I did Tales of Shakespeare, and I really, really enjoyed it. Basically, you would do a narrative of the play. Then you would read the play with your child, like read the actual play, taking pauses, talking about it, and then you would watch the play. Read the play in story form, read the actual play now in Shakespeare, and then watch a well done play. It can be in person, it can be on YouTube, but you just want to make sure that you're giving them something that is well done, so that by that time they're already familiar with the story. This is something that I might do moving forward. My encouragement to you guys is, if you want to do Shakespeare, you will be amazed at how much your child can pick up. but you will want to stop often for narration breaks, just that you can talk about the characters. You might want to talk about each character beforehand because, Shakespearean characters can have interesting names. And then you want to be able to talk about the character and the moral of the story. Okay, so another Shakespeare question. I've been reading my children's Shakespeare, and I don't mind the death so much as the suicide topic. Did your children have questions about that when you read any of the plays containing that? I've been avoiding those until I can come up with a solid plan on how to deal with the topic. Now, I kind of want to just read to you guys what I wrote because I don't know if I'll be able to say it as well as I wrote it. So I said, great question. We just approached the topic in Pilgrim's Progress recently. Again, only about 2 times in general have we come across this topic. We don't set up camp or put a huge focus or emphasis on it at all because I don't want it to linger. And I also took note that they thought, that's not a good idea at all. So the fact that I saw they knew instantly that doing that is just not a good idea at all gave me comfort. When reading aloud, I call my 8-year-old over to, in his mind, read the things referring to that topic. Because I have other young children around, I don't want to be kind of talking about that topic with them around, especially because it's such a real thing in this world. This was a good question, and I think, it is a lot in Shakespeare. So I guess I hope that this helps you and it's not offending anyone. So I'll call my 8-year-old over to, in his mind, read the reference on that topic, and to read things referring to that topic. And then I may change the wording as I'm reading it aloud. Like I'll be like, oh, and they got a boo-boo for my younger kids. Overall, I explain to my children that Adonai is the God and creator of all life. The commands he lays down for us, that even his son, Jesus, followed, leads to life, even in hard times. So he will never leave us. And I wish those characters knew he doesn't want us hurting others. That especially includes ourselves, because he is the God of life, not death. This is where we are at thus far, and they haven't asked any additional questions, so I haven't gone any deeper, but I feel at peace with it, but honestly would prefer not to read on that topic anymore. Like, I wouldn't voluntarily read on that topic, because I don't know that little children need to linger on this. Sometimes if my mama heart feels it's not age appropriate and way too intense for a particular child of mine when reading Shakespeare, I trust it and I paraphrase as fit for my kids. Yeah, it's really fun to do Shakespeare and it's amazing that children get it, but don't compare yourself to other moms whose children may be able to handle that at a impressive age. It's a good opportunity to get into topics, but you don't want to be feeling like you need to in order for them to have a good education. Like, you can ease them into these things. How do you personally occupy your baby while homeschooling your oldest children? So like I said, I have 8 children. No, I don't. I have 5 children. Obviously, when I'm doing school with my 8-year-old, and this year my 6-year-old will be joining in year 1, which is really exciting. But when I'm doing school with my 8-year-old, I include all my children, and as long as it's appropriate, we're sitting around the table, they may be playing with Legos or Duplos, but especially for my 1-year-old, what I am doing is kind of a routine, because children really like routine. I feel like it helps them know what to expect. And so although my baby is still breastfed, when we first sit down and we're eating breakfast and we're doing Bible and we're doing all of our recitations and all of our morning work that kind of includes everybody, I will bring my baby over in her high chair and I will give her lots of really fun things to eat, and we can actually make it through our entire morning reading, sitting at the table, all of our work together. We can get through that just by giving her breakfast. Feed the baby very intentionally. I time everything so that she's eating. That's a very weird noise. So I time it for my baby so she's eating. Now, when she's done eating, a lot of times you can find myself nursing the baby during school. A lot of times my 3-year-old and 4-year-old will be playing with toys on the floor, kind of building things, and my 1-year-old will just be crawling and playing with them. So I think being okay with putting your baby down and letting them play and wander and touch things as long as they're not getting hurt. Honestly, we've done really, really well with this. So that's kind of how I occupy my baby. I don't do any fancy crafts or, for my 1-year-old or anything like that. Truly, my child is either nursing, sitting in her high chair eating, or she is playing on the floor with her siblings. And it's really worked for us. Next question, all the narration tips as well. Currently reading No and Tell, and it's been helpful, but still struggling to help my daughter grasp what narration is and what it should look like. We are still at the stage where she will repeat repeat the very last part that I read aloud, not in full sentences either. How do you get your child to tell back beginning, middle, and end? Great question. And let me tell you, this is my second year homeschooling that I just completed, but my first year, me and a very good girlfriend of mine were constantly bonding over the fact that narration was a very tricky thing. You are not alone, and I think that as the years go on, you will build confidence for yourself that you can do this and that your child can do this too. You're going to see as you incorporate it year by year, they're going to get better and better. But I will say it does depend on the age that your child is. For instance, if you have a 13-year-old and all they want to do at the end of a reading is tell you the very last sentence, that might just be like a behavioral resistance problem. But if you have like a 6-year-old like I do, or a 7-year-old, or even an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old, you really can give a lot of grace for this situation, because just because they're not necessarily telling you because it's very new to them doesn't mean that they aren't absorbing. So you have to kind of like have grace in that beginning situation. For my 7-year-old or 8-year-old, or for any newbie, a great tip is to not wait till the end of their narration in order to gather your narration. If you are reading, say, a reading that's this long, read a little bit, get a narration, read a little bit, get a narration, read a little bit, get a narration, all the way down to the end. It doesn't need to be like this. I read the whole thing. Now what did you learn? As a parent, as you're reading, you can kind of see, like when you're getting to a little bit too much information, you'll start to learn your child's comfort level. And before you know it, you'll be building their confidence little by little until you really have something to celebrate at the end of the year, because you'll see a big change in your child. Now, my son never wanted to draw. I always wanted him to draw because this other girl that I had watched on YouTube, her daughter was always drawing the most beautiful things, and my son never wanted to draw. Don't force your child to narrate in the way that you want. Before they're able to actually write, they do have the option to draw or to speak. Don't force them to do one or the other. They can do either, and then you can write for them what they tell you. I think the best way that you can maybe explain to your child is, not make it so formal. You could just say, all right, honey, we're going to be doing narration again. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to be reading, and then I'm going to ask you, what did you learn? And you just tell back to me everything that you remember. Okay? It doesn't have to be everything. Just tell me your best. Like, what do you remember about that? And you can do this all throughout your day. Like, for instance, you could do little exercises where you go to the zoo with your daughter and then you say, what animals did you see today? And she will be narrating to you what animals she saw today. She is capable. It's just a different practice that she'll have to get used to. And so I think sometimes we complicate it as parents because we keep wanting more and more and more. Try taking shorter passages at a time and having her narrate. Even if it's not as good as you would like it to be, try and give a lot of praise to build that confidence, because that might be what's lacking. Also, like, say you're reading a story and you ask your daughter to narrate after a character falls, and say you're like, what happened? And say your daughter says, she fell. Maybe it's not a complete sentence. You can ask back, tell me, how did she fall? I find that if you just ask the question, like, how? It might not still be a complete sentence. I've always phrased it like, tell me what you've learned. Tell me, how did they get across the ocean? Tell me what you remember. Those kinds of things usually get a better outcome. And I hope that can help. Next question. I do have a question. Guys, it's getting so dark. Oh my gosh, forgive me. Tell me in the comments if you hate this and I'll never do it again. This is terrible. Hold on. I am so desperate to get this video out, but this is bad. Terrible lighting. I have a question. Are you educating yourself? If so, how and what are you using? That's a great question. I'm currently doing a Bible study at church, but there's so much to learn and I don't know where to start. Woo. That is awesome. Love studying the Bible. Right now I'm actually listening to an audiobook on Atomic Habits. I actually have the book, but I really enjoyed it. If you guys don't know about Atomic Habits, it's a great book that talks about building habits. You can even, maybe I'll even link the audiobook down below. But there is a Charlotte Mason Habits book that I am very excited to review for you guys soon. So I should really get onto that. Kind of trying to enforce better habits and being encouraged by the fact that even 1% better every day is better than nothing. I and many other people will almost say, well, if I can't do it all, what's the point? If you just make a little change once a day, just do a little better, do a little better. It's okay if you have some counts against you, or maybe you didn't do your best here. Say you want to be a more gentle mother, and wow, you have all these instances, you're just choosing gentle, and then you have like 5 ungentle parts and like 20 gentle parts. Those 20 gentle parts are still changing your path. They're bringing you towards becoming a more gentle mother. So I guess that's what I'm educating myself on, is how to utilize my time better, create better habits that set a better example for my children in every way, because that's always my goal, and how to be content with little changes every day that make a new habit. Let's see, baby AO mom here with my 1-year-old, starting a tad late. Curious how you will implement AO with more than one student. I'm curious too, because even though all of my children have always sat in on everything together, and it's been so fun. We live in a pretty small space, so I always have my children around me. Now I officially, this coming year, have a 6-year-old joining. So my year 1 student with my year 3 student. I think what I'm going to do, and I even had a great idea. I was like, would it be cool if I recorded putting together my year 3 schedule and my year 1 schedule? Like maybe a video showing how I'm going to combine them, because what my plan is, kind of print out my Ambleside year 1 schedule with my Ambleside year 3 schedule. Look at all the subjects that can be combined, and all the subjects that are independent work, and all the subjects that need one-on-one with just mom. So for instance, my year 1 and my year 3 student doing work together, those subjects. Organize my year 1 or 3 student just independent, one-on-one, me and each of them. And then I need to organize the independent work where they will be doing something. And those pockets of time are going to help me kind of schedule. So I'll know when I'm doing something, and when my son is doing something independent, I will be able to work on something that my daughter needs my one-on-one time for. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like Tetris. You're kind of putting everything together. I'm actually excited about that. And if you guys want to see that video, give a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below. Are you involved in a co-op? And if so, what kind and what does it look like? I am not involved in a co-op. I actually want to know in the comments below. Is there any other moms that don't really have an interest in a co-op? I don't mean that in a bad way, because co-ops are amazing. And I think that as many moms should do them as they want, because 1, you get community. 2, you get more affordability because you're sharing resources, and that's money resources too, space resources. Maybe you're meeting at someone's house. Maybe you're switching off. I just want to do it all myself. I kind of love the idea of my kids just learning along their siblings, and then having extracurricular activities with other kids, so they're getting that experience of learning with other children. You guys let me know, what are the value that you've been getting out of a co-op? It started as a wild and free group that I joined. You can find them on Facebook. Wherever you are, just put wild and free and then your town or your city, and something should pop up, hopefully. It's a group that is very Charlotte Mason friendly, because they're all about nature, having screen-free play dates throughout the week in nature, streams, trails, out in the great outdoors, and preserving the innocence of a child while allowing them to learn outside. The person that made that group ended up making it private. Now that wild and free group that I was a part of is now a private mom community. I'm so thankful, because every mom is like older and wiser. I'm learning so much. They've been in this for so long. We have about 16 moms in our group, and probably 50 plus children, because there's just a lot of kids. And it's great. They range from like newborn all the way to 16 years old. Really great friends, and just experiencing a lot of the great outdoors together. And I had such a great childhood playing outdoors in a neighborhood, and my kids weekly are getting to play in streams and all these parks and fishing and all these great experiences alongside others. Do field trips together. We go to symphonies together, museums, fishing, all sorts of opportunities that we get to do now. If you want community, you can find it. I encourage you to pray, because that's what I did. And I encourage you to try things, go places, try to open yourself up to people, because it wasn't until I started doing that I actually found my people. And I pray that you guys do too. All right, so let's keep going. Now, here are a few questions that I thought could be helpful that I wanted to include. They were in my comment section, and I did answer them, but I just thought a lot of other people could be having these questions. I love your videos. Thank you. Can I ask how you get it all done? I need some ideas on a schedule and planning, because I'm doing Ambleside for the first time with my 2 older kids and just crave doing it all and not burning out. Haha. Any advice on structure would be very, very appreciated. So I'm really excited for you that you were doing Ambleside with your older kids. Keep in mind, my kids are 8 and under, mainly speaking on year 2 and under in this video, because that's all that I've done. But in terms of how you get it all done, I think that you can really set yourself up for success, and it sounds like you're doing that, by preparation. A lot of times I think the success of our children actually come from the preparation of their parents and how well we have things kind of ready for them and prepared and presented for them. When I was doing the CMEC, I wanted to do it all, and I really did it all, and I really tried to do it all. My desire to do it all began to take over the whole point of homeschooling, which is do what benefits your child, do what helps your child best grow. Don't do it all. Don't find yourself in a place where you're doing it all, but your child's not learning anything. Do you know what I mean? Like you're checking boxes, but you're not actually getting things done. This would be my advice for you, because I could already tell you have the passion. I'm sure you have everything that it takes to teach them. So just don't let that desire to do it all get in your mind and get you off track from doing what's best for your children. Because I know what it's like to be so excited where you literally want to do everything, and in the back of your mind you're like, I know my child can't really handle this right now, or this is too much, or maybe next year because I didn't do my prep work or whatever it is. I would also just encourage you, maybe this future video that I'm thinking of doing where I'm setting up my schedule with 2 children will be helpful for you. Print out your Ambleside schedules side by side. One thing not a lot of people like about Ambleside, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that history is not the same. So for instance, history for my year 1 student will be different from history with my year 3 student. Am I really gonna do history 2 times with 2 different students? And then when I have 5 students, when all my kids are going to school, I'm going to do history 5 different times, 5 different ways. I have decided that, I haven't figured out how yet, but I have decided that in terms of history, I am only doing history once with all my children. So we're all going to grow together. Even though Ambleside is going to recommend different things, I'm going to find a way to all grow together in history, and I'm going to make it applicable for each child's age. But we're going to be in the same history. That's what I'm going to do, and you can follow along if you want to know how. The read aloud. Why have 2 different read alouds, you know? Have one read aloud for the whole family. So I guess my advice to you would be, let's work smarter, not harder. When it comes to doing all the things, just remember to set yourself up. So know which subjects can my children do independently? Which subjects do my children need just one-on-one time? What will my other children be doing during that time? And then what can we do together? I'm really excited for you. You're gonna have to let me know how it goes. When it comes to narration, does each child have their own narration book? Just wondering, when they start narration, do you write in both books? Yes, I have 2 narration books, like I'll show you right now. So if you guys have watched my artist study and composer study, you guys will see that now I have a 6-year-old doing artist study and an 8-year-old doing artist study. So yes, I did buy them their own Truth, Beauty, Goodness books. You guys can watch my artist study video and composer study video to see why I utilize these books for that. But you can have separate narration notebooks. Like I have a bunch of different narration notebooks. I think some of you said you'd love to see a video. I can kind of maybe give you a tour of each and what's been working for us. Let me know in the comments. That will remind me to make that video. You know, I was just thinking maybe you could do one narration notebook, but you're writing a different color for each child. That way it's all in one place. But in the end, I think the book, the purpose is that they have that book. It's not like all 5 kids fighting over one book. So yes, I do give each of my school-age children a narration notebook. If it's something like artist study, for example, where we are studying an artist, in order to not just have one child doing all the legwork and then the other is like copying that child, I'll be like, older son, you can go have a quick break. I'm gonna do this artist study portion with your sister, and then we'll switch. Another thing that I've mentioned in other videos is if you're doing it with multiple children, you can say, all right guys, we're gonna start from the youngest child and narrate, and then we're gonna work up to the oldest child. But the scoop is you cannot repeat the same thing that someone's already said. So it gets the older student, he has to pay attention to make sure they're not repeating what the younger student said. And then it gives the younger student that opportunity to form their own opinion and not copy the older student, which I have noticed can happen. So that's how I'm going to do it. And I am going to make this hand write 2 times in 2 separate books. And eventually they'll be able to write and we'll get a break. We do Ambleside online as well, and we've been having so much fun with the artist studies too. Our terms are 12 weeks each with 6 paintings for each artist. So that's about 1 every other week. So I usually introduce a painting on Monday of the first week, which is our artist study day. And then the second Monday that we spend with that painting is the day that we paint it. I love that. You're not rushing to learn about the artist and paint. You're splitting it up. That's really great. But lately, my son 6 has been very perfectionist, and painting has been very frustrating him more than he's able to enjoy because it's not perfect and it didn't come out looking just like the artist. Do you have any suggestions for a child who is not as good of an artist as he wishes to be and ends up getting frustrated? I was the same way growing up, so I don't know how to help him other than teaching him how to draw better. That is so sweet that he has such a desire to do that. So I said, to answer your question on dealing with perfection, I've been instilling in my children the idea with art that every artist is so unique and no one is the same. If you compare Van Gogh and Monet, for example, their styles are so different, one would likely also struggle to replicate the other, but that doesn't make them any less of an incredible artist. There's never a mistake in art that you think you made that you can't turn into something else. The goal is not to look exactly like the other painting, but to build your artist skill of doing your best and never giving up. I even paint with them and I'll model things like, oops, mommy made a mistake. Looks a little different, right? Oh well, I'm happy with my effort. I tried really hard. It's the only way I'm gonna get better, so I can't let that stop me. So instead of success being a perfect painting when we're teaching our children or how well they paint, it's more about the success of the effort and always doing their best. Obviously, we want our kids to be excellent painters, but there's even been times where I'd see my kids work, and although I almost expect more or maybe want more in certain instances, I'm like, this is your best. Like, this is your best, and that's great. That's what I want from them. Sometimes I'll tell them too, not many people become artists because they get discouraged so easily. But the only way to get better at something is to do your very best and be proud of your effort. So never ever give up and enjoy the journey as you paint. I do a lot of encouraging of their abilities during artist study while praising things like, wow, that color you chose looks really similar to the color of the painting. Or I like how you position the person in the center, just like in the painting. Or, wow, your bowl is the same size as the bowl in the painting, instead of being like, wow, your painting looks exactly like the artist. I don't do that. I find where I see the efforts and I compliment that. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for dealing with all the many lightings that I could have thrown at you. I am so looking forward to this next homeschool year and kind of having this community to discuss and to talk about what we're going to be doing. Stay tuned. I have a lot of videos in store for you, and we will talk next time. Stay cool, calm, and collected. Bye.